Halla.
Og balla.
Da er vi klar.
Ja, de vil holde på her nå. Der. Så der. Ja, du må få på den der jævla radioen.
Hva skal jeg si, bare så du vet det, så åpner vi med at folk fra Fed prater, og så får vi Chicago. Nei, sorry. Vi åpner med at vi har 45 minutter til PMI kommer.
Ja, så bare ligger rolig på åpningen.
Og Jobless har allerede kommet.
Ja, det så jeg.
Expecta på PMI-en er 48,5.
June 15th, join CNBC's
That's what we're
Financial
going for.
Advisor Summit. Hear from top advisors and market experts on creative risk solutions, potential buying opportunities, tools to generate consistent returns. Register now at cnbcevents.com/FA.
Let's get to a mad dash. 8 minutes before we get started with trading here at the New York Stock Exchange. We talked
Det
a
står
little bit
dritbra
we
til
get the
stad.
Dollar General, which actually is worth getting to.
Så tenk på
markedet, og så kommer litt ned her.
Ja, det kommer en god del ned slik klokka 12 i dag.
Although it's on its way to being a lot less.
Men de stemte vel over debt-sealingen i går i eller i
Hallo.
altså
Just 1.2% from, I mean, just horrible. From 3.35, midpoint 8%, now cut dramatically. And David, I've got to tell you, the trade down, it didn't happen.
Men ja, de har vel stemt stemt ferdig gjeldstaket i USA på republikanernes side. Så nå er det jo bare demokratene igjen som sender gjennom, og det er vel de fleste ganske sikkert på å skje. Jeg tror ikke det blir å være noe gjeldstakdrama i dag.
Nei, det har gått gjennom nå. Det er ferdig nå.
Ok.
They just went okay. They went okay. This is anti-aspiration. That doesn't come into play either. My data, look, my Dollar Gen, I remember his data gen was teasing. My Dollar Gen is clean. You can eat off the floor, not that I recommend that. They've got good bargains, but David, the stuff is $5, $6. Where's the value? Except for the candy aisle. Cowtails.
Nå er det en ny måned, så jeg vet ikke faen hva det er.
So what does the forecast call for?
Men så du etter at det går, eller?
But look, I mean, the stock is
Ja, på den oppsvingen der. Han landet faen meg perfekt på linja mi også i går før han snudde. Helvete, det må jeg sende en screenshot av.
Look at
But they're going to run.
That's not
They're
good.
going to
3
run.
years, baby.
I
Down
know.
7%.
But this was an LBO that did so great. And remember, Dollar Tree's been in a little bit of a pickle because of Family Dollar.
Yep.
But these stores, if you've been to them, what you'd be surprised at is they're not a dollar. I mean, we go there because we like it. I get a lot of cool stuff for the holidays. You know, you like balloons and stuff.
Oh, nice.
But, you know,
Yeah.
the balloons, do you have balloons when you
No,
have
I
people
don't, I
over?
don't do the balloons.
Jeg sendte det til deg på Discord.
Yeah.
Get the helium.
Thanks. All right. That's great. Balloons.
It's
Så jeg skal bare føre over noe cash, jeg får faen ikke ført over en dritt der.
Opening bell. 5 minutes.
Hvorfor
from
det?
now, and don't forget, you can
Ja,
catch
det er for
this
mye cash.
scintillating conversation
Er det det der?
anytime, anywhere.
Ja, det kan det være hvis det er over en viss mengde, så får du ikke direkteført det på Visa, da må du bankoverføre det, og da tar det jo en stund.
Det var ikke så mye.
own it.
Dette faen hva som er grensa, om det er 5000 eller noe sånt.
That's been my mantra both for the show and
Okay,
the CNBC
I'll
Investing Club.
go-
Other than Apple,
Closer.
it's the only stock I've ever said that about. Watch or listen live on the CNBC app.
I wonder if Instacart can tackle this honeydew list. Need paint for the deck, gear for the kids' track meet, and
Så...
honeydew list completed. Saturday saved. Visit instacart.com or download the app and get free delivery on your
wow.
first order.
Sometimes one thing leads to another thing. Then all of a sudden, it's on. With Roman, you can take care of erectile dysfunction discreetly. So whenever the moment happens, you're ready. Roman ready.
Your transaction is processing.
Defined by simplicity. Meticulously crafted to be enjoyed for years to come. Thoughtful bedrooms for modern living.
Sure, you'll teach her how to drive a car. Then use Greenlight to power her independence with crash detection with 911 dispatch, family location sharing, and emergency SOS alerts. Invest in your best investment with Greenlight.
Blackstone knew you deserved a better way of cooking, igniting an outdoor cooking revolution with more than 8 million griddles sold, creating better backyard celebrations. Your breakfast is better. Lunch, better. Every dinner you craft is done better. And we're never done pushing for more. More flavor. More fun. So go to the nearest Blackstone retailer or log on to blackstoneproducts.com to get yours today. Blackstone. Better.
Hi, I'm Jay Jackson. For almost 20 years, Abacus Life has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors. And in just seconds, you can use the free calculator at abacuspays.com to learn what your policy might be worth.
Men helvete får ikke ført opp penger, da.
Selling their life insurance to Abacus was right for them and their estate plan.
Ja, hadde du tenkt å føre over mer for å øke kontraktseisen din, eller?
Ja, jeg skal handle mer, for nå gjør jeg det bra, så da kan det begynne å øke litt. Jeg synes S&P funker bra. Nasdaq liksom helt ute å kjøre.
Ja, du mener Dow Jones?
Ja, det også.
The needs of today's investors.
Da er det en ganske stor offset på futuren og faktisk Dow Jones, så det kan bli interessant å se hvordan det beveger seg sammen med Nasdaq og Nasdaq futuren.
Alt henger sånn her da. Lastene er som
The opening bell is brought to you by Nuveen, a leader in income, alternatives, and responsible investing.
Got some data to work through this morning. According to ADP, private payrolls up 278,000 in May. That's well ahead of expectations. In the meantime, government data show that jobless claims came in at 232K. Jim, interesting ADP. I mean, they've changed their model a couple of times, but does it matter if the jobs number tomorrow has now been de-risked?
I think that one, it's been de-risked, but two, there's another number that people are really buzzing about. Unit labor costs. Yep. They were 4.2.
Jeg er long, men jeg får faen ikke gjort noe her, for jeg får faen ikke følt på penger.
Ja, har du gått long, eller har du bare ikke fått gjort noe?
Jeg har gått long. Akkurat. Men jeg får ikke følt på det med cash.
Jeg gjør ikke noe før du åpner.
Det er smart. Men jeg vil deposit, liksom.
I think very strange piece this morning recommending a bunch of home builders. Home builders go up every time we have a rate increase because the long end, what mortgages are priced off.
Skal vi ringe DNB nå?
So they're their own worst enemy.
Er det DNB som holder inn, kanskje?
Aner ikke.
Parker's Philly's own, man. Don't mess with him.
Jeg er så dritlei av DNB. Til Telia? 048.
Prudence. I think that the Mester team represents this point recklessness.
Right. Although Jefferson was the one that got everybody's attention.
Yes, very good. Very good.
Open kort øyeblikk. Ja, det er åpent. Ikke til veldig mye på vei sånn.
Personlig betjening. Personlig betjening. Personlig betjening. Personlig betjening. Personlig betjening.
Hvor trøtt man var ikke.
What Macy's is saying about the consumer and what Visa and even Wells Fargo are saying about the consumer.
Oi, helvete, det trynet.
Oh yes.
Du er long, har du snudd?
Nei, jeg gjør ingenting. Jeg bare har halv kontrakt.
Jeff Gannett is terrific. They were having a pretty good quarter. Nordstrom was good. Rack was good. But Dollar General bad. Spending seems to be heavily linked to going out at night. And I think that could be. David, I've got a new thesis. I'm going to bounce off it.
Thesis, okay.
Ready?
Yeah, ready. What's up?
When people work at home,
Hold kjeften din, liksom.
party. 4:35, the bars are packed. Just try to get in. You can't even get, you know, like the bar.
This is Danny Meyer's theory that people have been holed up in their apartment all day working from home.
I thought it was off the record.
And the 5 p.m. dinner hour is jammed.
It is, Danny.
You can't get in early. It used to be like if you wanted to go to one of the best restaurants, 5 o'clock reservation, 5:30. Then really you're fine. You're not eating till 6:15.
Like Rascal House.
Now that's over. You can't get in anywhere.
No, you can't. Those people are driving. Those are the student loan people. These people are all driving.
Holy shit, jeg var jo glad jeg bare tok en halv kontrakt. Den datt jo ganske på åpen.
You crave people. But not the people at work. You want the people at the bar.
Yeah, no.
Jeg får ikke gjort en dritt her, for den det
I
svarer.
don't have an answer anymore on the whole work from home thing. I mean, I get there's people who have very long needs, childcare issues. That is a driving force as to why people don't want to come back. But why younger people in New York City are not going to the office?
Jeg driter i boligmarkedet.
It's fantastic to not work. I work, and you know, like I got up this morning, I couldn't talk at all. But I said it's Thursday.
Faen for en sell-off, hva det er som skjer på Dow Jones.
Men hva er
Tech åpen jo opp.
There's so much pollen at my house. Then I go and I take
Tech åpen opp, olje åpen, er opp.
it's kind of like a shot put of
You got a little mezcal in there too.
Dollaren har svekket seg. Er det det som gjør det?
No, not in the
Det er...
I've cut back.
Det skal jeg si, det eneste jeg ikke liker med å trade Dow Jones er det at jeg kan veldig lite om hva det er for noe som beveger den kontra Nasdaqen.
They've all actually been performing pretty well, Jim. I don't, you know, since their prints.
Nesten synes vi har gått long på nytt på bunnen her, men det tør jeg ikke.
Maybe the back of the Salesforce and maybe some other stuff. But they've actually performed fairly well again since they had declines from reporting. Take a look,
All right, so
Cloudflare.
let's go over
What is this saying?
Okay.
Nå henger nettet på meg, jeg får ikke logge den.
Came on, Frank Slutman, and I said, "Come on, Frank, can't be this bad." And he said, "No, Jim. I mean, come on."
Jo, jeg prøver å føre over penger til noe som heter TD365, og så kommer bare decline hele tiden.
So downbeat that he caused the stock to go down. His negativity was shocking.
Yep.
But he also, he just said, "Listen, Jim, we're feeling it. We're feeling it."
The point I'm making is
Cloudflare missed the quarter.
Cloudflare at last
They
year were
went
both down sharply after they cut numbers on their earnings, but they have since rebounded. The market seems to be willing to.
Well, let's take it.
Okay.
Matthew Prince, Cloudflare. What did he do? He said, "I thought, Jim, that they wanted me to go for cash flow positive. So I went and did cash flow positive, and they hated me." No, they didn't. They actually liked me. Atlassian, David, is a team product that works, and people thought that CGP, you know, that AI was going to hurt them because you didn't need them anymore, and that was untrue. Atlassian's still doing well. Alteryx is the one that I'm not sure about.
Okay.
AYX. Someone upgraded today. I'm not sure about how they're doing.
Okay.
Like to know. But Frank did it himself. I mean, my interview was really painful. I happen to like Frank very, very much. And I said, "Frank, you can't be this negative." And he was like, well, basically as Frank does, like, what do you know? But he didn't put it that way.
Well, he does have a tendency to say that, doesn't he? Like, what do you know?
Well, there's two Erasmuses. There's the one that I beat in the Penn Relays. That's closed. High school. And now there's the real Rasmus that he went to in the Netherlands. That's why they call him the Flying Dutchman.
Got it. I always learn something here.
The Fliegender Holländer, baby.
Looking at shares of Lucid, guys, you know, still a $12.4 billion market cap company. Obviously, the EV maker, high end. We followed the company with some fairly closely, of course, even ever since its early days as a SPAC. Number 4 there, right? Wasn't it? Yes. CIV 4.
Churchill.
Churchill, thank you.
Yeah.
Lucid's down another 12+%. Let me give you the news. They are going to commence an offering of 173.5 million shares of common. And they also are going to place another 265.7 million shares with, and raising 1.8 billion as a result, with their largest single shareholder at this point. That's the Public Investment Fund, Saudi Arabia, PIF. We've talked a lot about how when you are starting an automobile company, you consume an awful lot of capital. You just basically, I mean, billions to get yourself moving. That's what's so amazing about what Musk has done at Tesla, of course, getting it through those earlier days just by sheer will, by sheer force of his ability to be a showman in some way, and convince. But it's hard, and Lucid is raising $3 billion because they need it.
Well, David,
if they're going to be able to push through
it's Churchill, right?
what is a lot of negative cash
Churchill?
flow. Yes.
Okay, so
it was the old Churchill.
I've identified it, what it is. We shall issue stock on the beaches. We shall issue stock on the landing grounds. We shall issue stock in the fields. We shall issue stock in the street. We shall issue in the hills. We will never surrender. It was Churchill all along. Churchill had it wrong. It was about issuing stock, not about fighting the Nazis.
Nei, men jeg bekrefter med banken hos DNB. Den bekrefter jeg, men jeg får fortsatt ikke ført over penger. Ja, men det står at det dere som stopper det. Det jo gjennom deres app. Det jo deres app jeg betaler gjennom. Altså... Ja, men du skjønner ikke hva jeg sier til deg. Du kan logge inn på forskjellige terminaler rundt i hele verden, men jeg må fortsatt inne på DNB-appen for å godkjenne betalingen, og det det jeg gjør. Ja, det ligger som betaling. Jeg logger meg først inn og trekker derfra, og så godkjenner jeg. Det du som trykker, så trykker jeg ja. Men jeg får jo... Hva det du sier for noe? Jeg logger meg inn på DNB-appen gjennom PC-en, og så godkjenner jeg med den appen som du må godkjenne med. Og så trykker... Nå jeg inne på DNB. Ja, mobilbank-appen, så du blir bank i det da. Det her må jo alle gjøre som logger seg med bank-appen. Ja, for faen hva det den eneste appen jeg har fra dere i hvert fall, hvor det står at jeg skal godkjenne. Da trykker jeg godkjenning.
Interesting too, Jensen's comments today or last night in Taiwan about
Taiwan supply. Nå jeg logget meg inn på DNB-appen. Henger du med meg? Nå logger jeg inn. Ja, men herregud, det jo dere det stopper. Du kan ikke se at du prøver å trekke deg fra det hele tatt. Nå ble det godkjent. Hvorfor ble det godkjent akkurat nå? Nei, men jeg gjør det gjennom deres konto på deres konto. Nå ble det akkurat godkjent.
But again, we just weren't able to respond fast enough. And one of the biggest factors was...
Hvis jeg logger meg inn på... Nå skal jeg bare lære ting. Hvis jeg logger meg inn på din konto på DNB, så det dere som jeg må godkjenne og prate med. Ikke det tredjeparts. Nei, jeg sa at jeg logget meg... Nei, men herregud, vær så snill da. Det bruke... Hva dette for noe? Det sånn joke? Jeg sier til at jeg logger meg inn på appen på DNB. Det jeg sier til deg hele tiden. Jeg sa ja 4 ganger. Jeg sa til deg at jeg logger meg inn på... Nei, bare at du må kanskje lære å snakke litt ordentlig til folk som ringer deg. I og med at du har fått support. Fuck off. DNB. Hæ? Inn der. Feit jævla hovedtøs. Logger deg på bank-ID? Ja, jeg logger meg inn på fuckings DNB. Det nettbank-ID, eller det internett-ID? Jeg logger meg på den jævla appen jeg har fått fra deg, for faen! Ja, men det... Du må kontakte de som du skal ha penger, men i helvete, pengene hos deg. Din jævla tøs! Hva er problemet for noe? Faen, ass! Er det mulig, liksom?
Jeg vurderte å ta tapet der I stad på en weekend som var på toppen, men det kan jeg nå, hvis han close opp her, da blir jeg litt mer optimist på at trenden snur. Men jeg liker ikke helt trenden I serien.
Jeg gikk I så close, mens jeg prøvde å putte på penger, for jeg fikk jo faen ikke sett på en dritt der. Det så jævla typisk meg å gjøre sånn her mens jeg skal trade. Jeg lærer det aldri.
Jeg ikke gått I stopplås ennå. Jeg har ennå longen, men jeg vurderer å...
Nei, men jeg får jo bare ikke fulgt med når jeg snakker med denne da. Fy faen for en fyllik. Hun dame der var...
Men drit opp I henne. Da fokuserer vi på markedet. Skal vi tenke at trenden ennå skal snu opp? Skal vi ned?
Opp.
Ja, så går det long på nytt der da I bunnen?
Ja, long på nytt. Jeg henter alt sammen. Men jeg må først se på de jævla grafene her, for jeg ser ingenting av grunn.
NVIDIA's no longer with us.
No, Lucid passed. Lucid's over here, but no, there's none of them are Lucid. NVIDIA passed away after a long run.
Enkelte selskap på Nasdaq går seg kula da, så jeg satser på at det drar opp da og noe.
Så det skal du ikke si. Hver dag nå så har Nasdaq gått, mens Dawn har gått ned.
Nasdaq closet jo I rødt I går også da.
Jeg tror det har gått hver dag I hele år. Se så bra nett jeg har.
That chart's a mess. Down another 10% today.
They missed really badly. That was terrible. Just a terrible miss. Maybe one of the worst of the whole quarter. And by the way, Capri was no. Some people call it Capri. They're completely wrong. Capri has not been an exceptional performer either. That's
Nå legger alt som smaker meg. Jeg kan ikke være live på tredje, ass.
More than anybody else in the world. He's like Einstein.
Ryan Reynolds is like Einstein.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeg bruker jo et minutt bare for å oppdatere charten min.
He's humble as all get out. We never get that.
He's very nice. I know. I saw him when well, I didn't actually meet him.
He's a friend of the show.
He seemed very nice.
He's a friend of the show.
From afar when you had him over there.
Is he even an acquaintance of your show?
No, he's not. He's not any. I've never.
Jeg får ikke lagt en ordre her da. Jeg skal kjøpe et Nasdaq her også.
Glad handers.
I did not.
Nå har ikke hatt PC-båsen I går også.
One last touch on retail. Let's do PVH,
Ja,
Jim.
nei, men det nok bare at du har for dårlig PC.
Calvin Klein, not that good.
Nå så laster enda.
Again, we're calling them hockey stick guides.
Stefan Larsen's money.
Ok, jeg må løpe meg av og på igjen.
Stefan Larsen, the CEO, is very, very good. $5 billion company. I'm trying to keep up with you with the
market cap. I think it's important to tell our viewers
I don't know.
how large things are or small things.
What do you call mini cap? What do you call?
No, that's not mini. That's small.
Small cap.
Yeah, small.
Exxon, lowest
that's big cap, by the
since
way.
late March.
Ja,
despite
mye
an
mest
upgrade
minutt.
today, Jim, over at RBC.
Well, oil's going lower. I mean, you know, we're finding so much
Normally
more.
you've said that it has some safety here in the high 60s.
I just thought that OPEC Plus, they've got to deliver this weekend. They really do, because the Russians are pumping like mad. You know, everyone thought that if the Russians lost the great American technology to fine and service, it would hurt them. It hasn't at all. I think it's more like this. Wes Edens, who's a friend of yours, he's got this deal where he's bringing natural gas to the coals from Newcastle. He's bringing natural gas to Mexico. Remember when Mexico was like the biggest provider in the hemisphere? That's very typical of what's happening.
Yeah, well, from the Gulf, right?
Yeah. So he's putting it right to the Gulf. What's happening is we're producing like mad. The other guys know. And by the way, our costs, some of them, like if you look at Pioneer, which my travels also knows, they're $7 to $10. So they're going to pump all they want, but they've been trying to hold back. But other guys are just, it's, you know, Chevron is doing very well, but they're pumping like mad.
U.S. production, 12.3 million barrels per day. That's the highest since basically COVID began.
Going to 14 in 2 years. It's just, there's no...
so can we do it? Well, we got data.
Pioneer went from 10,000 to 15,000 when it does their...
Jeg får ikke kjøpt nå heller.
That really brought a lot more oil.
Ok, PMI-en kom inn som expecta.
Men jeg får ikke handla her. Alt låser seg. Jeg får ikke trykt en ordre.
Men har du prøvd å lukke alt?
Det her går jo ikke.
Men etter du fikk overført penger, for det her har skjedd med meg før, har du lukket alt du har av TD365-kontoene? Altså alle chargen, alt du logger inn på TD365, for når du får inn penger der, så har det klikket før hos meg. Og da måtte jeg lukke alt, hvis ikke så har du på en måte brukeren oppe.
Jeg har gjort det. The price market change, please enter new. Altså det går så tregt, da får ikke lagt en ordre engang.
Ja, men lukk alt av TD365 charge og TD-brukeren, så du blir logget ut av TD365. Ikke hele pris. Ja, bare TD365, ikke PC-en.
Nå begynner jeg å bli irritert igjen. Kan ikke trade så snart her. Det går glipp av hele oppsøkene her.
Jeg har sendt et lang fra bunnen, så skal vi se. Altså, PMI kom inn som expecta.
Jeg kjøpte en mastercard nå.
Ja. ISM er expecta på 47, det kommer om 13 minutter.
Is brought to you by PIMCO, a global leader in active fixed income.
What's the alternative to riding the public market roller coaster? The alternative is alternatives. Private market alternatives help you outperform the traditional portfolio by up to 40%. Meet YieldStreet, a leading private market investment platform with 9.7% realized net annual returns across 10 highly vetted asset classes. Join over 400,000 members with over $3 billion invested. Diversify with alternatives. Open an account at yieldstreet.com.
Enda en nedgående trend.
For retirement, but I wish we had more cash.
You think those two have any idea that they can sell their life insurance policy for cash? So they're basically sitting on a gold mine? I don't think they have a clue.
That's crazy.
Well, not everyone knows Coventry's helped thousands of people sell their policies for cash, even term policies.
Forstående opp nå derfra.
Sitting on all this cash.
Alt klikker her.
On a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, you can sell
Hva
all or part
hva betyr det?
term policy for cash.
Det her betyr det jeg snakket om, at det var det TD365 som har problemer. For andre ting på PC-en beveger seg.
Jeg får ikke laste opp en dritt her.
Do you hear that?
I don't hear anything anymore.
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-571-7900.
Nei, men det der funker ikke fordi han ikke logget inn på TD-brukeren din. Altså, han klarer ikke å logge inn på TD-brukeren din.
Jeg er logget nå. Jeg har penger som faen på Mazda. Her.
Det er bra nå, Nede.
Jeg kjøpte det her. Her. Men jeg får ikke sett noe.
Everything hurts. You need relief that's deeper than ice. You need
Det er så jævla typisk. Jeg må ha en ny PC, det er ikke noe å lure på meg. Ok, jeg prøver på nytt.
Jeg vurderer å... Jeg liker ikke bevegelsen vi ser på Dowen, så jeg vurderer å ta tapet.
Er du short eller long?
Jeg er long. Men jeg ser ikke noe særlig grunn for at det skal opp, egentlig.
Jeg tar gevinst nå hvert øyeblikk på Nasdaq, men går som at faen her selv.
Employment numbers and analysis tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern.
Some S&P laggards here, heavy in retail. You'll see names like Advanced Auto Parts, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Target, Best Buy. A little bit of travel in there as well. Wynn and Southwest, not far from the top 5, along with Salesforce. You see there at number 2, down 6%. Not quite to yesterday's intraday low. We'll get stopped trading with Jim in a minute.
Jeg er liksom long fra 32,821. Så jeg tror ikke jeg blir å klare å komme inn i dag. Jeg dropper der med det første.
Tenker du på Dow Jones?
Ja.
With the push of a button, Constant Contact's AI
Jeg gikk ikke i stopp,
you know
så
what to
jeg,
say, even when you don't.
jeg er enda long fra
Constant Contact,
82,
helping the small stand
nei,
tall.
32, 82, 23, eller noe sånt her, rundt der.
There's no such thing as
På
9 to
21.
5. Days are longer, and business hours
Så jeg ligger fint i det nå, så jeg vurderer å ta tapet.
especially when you have clients like ours.
Ja.
When I can
Jeg har ikke så mye komme. Jeg gikk jo stopplåsen. Jeg drev og prøvde å snakke med de der kjerringene på DNB.
Short payroll makes running payroll fast and easy, so I can spend extra time with these guys.
Jeg var sur tap da.
Ja, det er jævla surt da. Hvorfor ikke du får fulgt med?
I'm Matthew.
I'm Melissa, and together we started Fresh Clean Threads.
Ja, jeg skal ta tapet. Ja, push opp litt her på denne vikken her, så tar jeg tapet.
Using my years of apparel experience, we set out to make the world's best fitting t-shirt.
Ja, jeg må sette meg mer inn i hva det er som flytter Dowen. Jeg føler trade i blinde uansett hvis jeg ser på Dowen, for jeg aner jo ikke hva det er som flytter.
CNBC. Live ambitiously. Earnings after the bell. Dell, Broadcom, Lululemon. Breaking down the numbers.
Jeg er long Nasdaq igjen nå, for å se.
Closing bell overtime 4 Eastern.
Ja, Nasdaq går jo snart i null, og
You never know what to get him.
Just give me steak.
Dow Jones er ned 0,5.
Right now, Omaha Steaks is offering Dad's
Jeg penger som faen på Nasdaq igjen nå. Jeg solgte den der oppe.
filet mignons, 4 air-chilled boneless chicken breasts, boneless pork chops, jumbo Frank's dessert, and more. All for just $99.99. Save 61%. Order today at omahasteaks.com/TV, and you'll get 8 burgers free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
How are you? I made this.
Kjøpte en Nasdaq der.
Fee-free overdrafts. Early payday.
Ta minst ute.
Easy credit building.
Wall Street ser fortsatt jævla tung ut da.
You feel good.
Ja, jeg skjønner ikke hva det er greier, men hvorfor tenkte du skulle gå long på åpen utgangspunktet?
Fordi tallene som kommer så var helt greie. Nasdaq går videre nå. Jeg er også long Germany også nå. Kjøpte Daxen her nede.
In the general election, pretty extensive tweet, well beyond what we've printed here so far, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, I've asked Jamie about it a couple times. He is somewhat dismissive of it, likes his job, understands that people have adulation for him, but does not get into the situation where he has no humility and thinks that could happen.
No, I think.
Ja, men Nasdaq er jo AI-sprett I dag. Resten av markedet, og det holdes selvsagt S&P opp, og det er jo egentlig veldig meningen. Banne.
But the political process is not one in which I believe he's interested in.
Nei, så det er lov igjen, så tar jeg
Therefore,
det.
you're not going to run, and therefore you're not going to be.
Exactly. So
På Doha?
it's a nice thought. I think a lot of people like Jamie, but a lot of people like him. Yeah.
And then it also becomes a question. I think Ackman may not have a sense
Fordi jeg skulle ut og si, altså, S&P holdes jo oppe av at Nasdaq gjør det bra på AI. Markedet har jo egentlig ventet på en korreksjon lenge, så det er jo helt høl I høvet egentlig å skulle gå lang nå.
Du tror du bør selge opp på gjeldstaket?
Hæ?
Du tror du bør selge opp på gjeldstaket?
Ja, fordi at alle har jo visst at det kom til å bli en deal på det der lenge. Så nå er vi bare redd for gode tall. Får vi for gode tall, så bryr folk seg bare om neste renteøkninger. Så hvis det kommer bra tall nå, så blir markedet å komme ned på det, tror jeg, hvis de blir for bra. Fordi da er inflasjonsfrykten tilbake.
Gorman is out, leaving Morgan Stanley, and he's going to move up to exec chair, but he's not. No plans at JP Morgan for any succession at this point.
No, I mean,
not even Tom is trying to get that job. Tom, succession.
I think that it's a nice thing to.
Ja, jeg longa Daxen, longa Nasdaq og longa Dow her nede.
32, 75.
The funnel is not business love.
No.
Right?
No.
It's a gauntlet, to be sure.
It's a gauntlet.
Yep.
Like, not unlike Clint Eastwood in that seminal movie.
Happy birthday to Clint yesterday. Yeah.
How old?
Yeah, I don't know how old. I don't remember, but yesterday was the day.
I put 100 on Molly No Show. One of the greatest movies, call it.
93?
On 93.
93. Unforgiven still.
Unforgiven. Deserves got nothing to do with it. My nephew writes the show. He put Deserves has nothing to do with it like 5 times a show. Great line, Gino.
Let's get to Jim and stop trading.
All right, well, we have CrowdStrike, so that's going to be significant tonight. But I want to talk about AbbVie. You mentioned AbbVie's down a lot. Well, they have a drug called Humira. It's the greatest selling drug in history. Well, the copycats are in, biosimilars. Coherus, which works with Mark Cuban, 85% decline in price. Now, get this. Humira costs the system $90,000 per person a year. Well, if you cut that price by 85%, you get it to the point where even Humana, Kramer Fave, and Chapel Trust this is really huge. This is huge for the system. That drug is a wonder drug, but 85% decline. You don't want to be in that business anymore.
Let's talk about deflation.
At the same time, the system's
Jeg setter stopplås på Dowen, så enten så går det nå, så går det ikke.
Ultimately may save the system, to be fair, because of
what matters is that this is not what they're looking at the. They're looking at how every time they raise rates, housing, mortgage rates go lower.
Nasdaq tenkte vi ned I går, første gang på lenge.
Let it write a mess.
Yep.
Thank God for Harker. You know, Harker is so good. Super Bowl. NBA. MLB. No. MLS.
The NBA championship starts tonight.
No, I know, but I'm saying we haven't won it. We haven't won since 80.
Sorte Nasdaq tar vi minst ute nå. Bare skjalpe fort det.
No, when was the last time we won?
Yes, we.
Jeg gidder ikke gjøre en drit, så jeg setter fast I Dowen.
I'll speak to the team. Basketball? I give the team a speech.
Sixers? Is that what you're talking
about? We'll see you tonight. Mad Money, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. After the break, we'll turn back to some of today's big earnings and some moves in tech and retail. Don't go anywhere.
Is this how you're hoping to retire?
Er det penger som faen på Dow nå?
Isn't a good retirement.
Men jeg har ikke hentet han tapet fra oss da.
You've worked for a comfortable retirement for years. Now you need to plan for retirement income. Learn ways to avoid common mistakes, like being too conservative or not setting retirement goals. Have someone on your side to keep you on track.
Call for Fisher's Comfortable Retirement Kit with the help you need to make your retirement as
Her kan man sette en short på Nasdaqen
13
snart.
retirement blunders to avoid and maximize your social security. Call 1-800-759.
Nei, men altså, det så mye mer bevegelse på Nasdaq enn Dowen da.
Ja, Dowen var bra å gå nå, Nasdaq med fresk det.
Call now for your comfortable retirement kit. Call
det kan jo sammenlignes.
1-800-759-4477.
Det tredobbelt så mye handel I Nasdaqen som går sånn.
Call us today. You don't have it coming to you unless you plan for it.
Call 1-800-759-4477.
We planned well for retirement, but I wish we had more cash.
Kjøpte Nasdaq igjen. Tog gevinst starter det. Bare scalper.
That they can sell their life insurance policy for cash, so they're basically sitting on a gold mine? I don't think they have a clue. That's crazy. Well, not everyone knows Coventry's helped thousands of people sell their policies for cash, even term policies. I can't believe they're just sitting up there, sitting on all this cash.
If you own a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, you can sell all or part of it to Coventry, even a term policy.
Hva det som kommer etterpå?
Or a combination of cash and
Om
coverage.
1 minutt så kommer ISM-indeksen, manufacturing-indeksen, expected 42. Og construction spending expected på 0,1%.
Find out if you're sitting on a
In
gold mine.
rejection
Call
på
Coventry Direct
Nasdaq.
today at 800-571-7900 or visit coventrydirect.com.
I'm Livy Dunn, All-American gymnast and Viore athlete.
Ja, kan du gå alle her da.
When you travel and
Det
train
var
as much as I
reject
do,
da.
you find happiness
Oi,
wherever
det
you
gikk rett opp da.
are. On the mat or on the sand.
Tallene kommer, bare tallene. Jeg ser ikke en dritt her.
That's why I live in
Jeg har ikke fått tallene ennå. Det
Made
jeg venter
from
på.
DreamNet fabric that's made of 89% recycled materials, effortlessly soft and made to move as much as I do. My happiness starts
Har noen som har tallene, eller?
with the softest joggers on the planet.
ISM kom inn på
Fy faen, jeg kom på Nasdaqen.
Construction spending kom inn helvete, construction spending kom inn masse høyere enn forventet.
Si det da! Jeg må vite.
Construction spending 1,2%, expected var 0,1. ISM Manufacturing Index, actual 46,9, expected 47. Så ISM på konsensus, construction spending kom inn langt over.
Ta gevinst ute. Men kan vi ikke bare... Vi må ha stiger her, kan vi få printe oss, jeg ser det mye.
Ja, men jeg bruker jo det greier til han stiger.
Jeg må bare poste her da, så jeg kan se det mye. For jeg ser det fort du klarer å si det. Jeg er longa, tok gevinst her nå. Det er long Dachsen. Dachsen bør gå mye mer.
Rough day for a number of retailers, names like Macy's, Dollar General, PVH, all
Nei,
in the red
fy
on the back
faen.
of their latest outlooks.
Dachsen gikk rett opp, jeg fikk ikke noe ut av den. Hvordan er det mulig?
CrowdStrike shares plunging. The cybersecurity company beating earnings estimates, but slowing revenue growth, fueling declines this morning. Stocks down 4.5%. It's off the lows. And then Meta continuing its ride higher. Stock sitting at now new 52-week highs today. Shares are up more than 120%.
Tok gevinst på Nasdaq. Tok gevinst på Dow Jones.
Kicking off an Instagram live right now, teasing a big announcement for the company. Our Julia
Instagram discount, construction spending, actual 1.2, expecting 0.1.
Getting some fresh data including ISM. Let's get to Rick Santelli once again. Hey, Rick.
Yes, let's start out with a super read on construction spending, expected to be up 0.2%. It's a barn burner, up 1.2, up 1.2. That's the best level since November. Now, you see interest rates moving down. Most likely, that has to do with the following data points. ISM manufacturing, 46.9. 46.9. That means that is the 7th in a row under 50 in contraction territory. Prices paid, 44.2. That is the lowest level of the year, and prices paid going down is a good thing, most likely explaining the drops in yield. That is the lowest prices paid since December when it was a whisker under 40. We have seen a little bit more buoyant in the rearview mirror on prices paid is 53.2. That's a great drop. On the employment scene, considering this is employment week, employment Friday, tomorrow, 51.4, 51.4. That's the best read going back, well, all the way. That's pretty good. You have to go back to March to find a better read, March of last year. And finally, on the new orders side, not good news. The 9th consecutive month under 50 in contraction mode, just somewhat similar to the headline at 42.6. And that is the weakest since 44.3 was March, so you could put the two together. 42.6 drops you to the second lowest reading of the year outside of January when it was 42.5. We continue to monitor as 10-year note yields seem to be approaching 3.5%, and everybody is waiting for announcements on where the supply is going to come from with regard to the yield curve, T-bills, to replenish once the final votes are tallied on the default aversion, of course. Sarah, back to you.
Yeah, I think there's some funky three-day cash management bill being released today. Thank you, Rick Santelli, for all that data. And guys, I just want to underscore the important point in that manufacturing read that Rick highlighted very well, which is prices paid, 44.2, lowest number of the year, because remember last month, that was kind of a worrisome number. It was at a 9-month high. And so if you're looking for signs that inflation is moderating, especially if you're the Fed, that's going to be good news. But overall, I think it speaks to what we've been seeing out of the data lately, which is manufacturing weak, jobs strong, and consumer somewhere in between, mixed signals.
Hard to figure.
Let's talk about some of the consumer numbers today. We'll see what they tell us. We got Macy's, Dollar General, lower, both of them lowering their outlook as well. Dollar General getting slammed, down 17%. Target's on pace for 10 straight down days. It's dealing with some political fallout. But let's just talk about what we heard from Macy's and from Dollar General. I think the quote that everyone's reading from the release on Macy's from Jeff Gennett really hits home. Partly it's because they're in the department store and then they're in the wholesale business, but they really did cut their guidance, and it was a surprisingly low cut. On the lower part of the guidance reflects a worsening macro environment. The upper end reflects what they've been seeing so far. And if you look at what he said, we planned the year assuming that the economic health of the consumer would be challenged, but starting in late March, Demand trends weaken further in our discretionary purchases. We have moved quickly to take the appropriate actions to meet current consumer demand and manage our expenses. And then he talks about the revised guidance reflecting incremental clearance markdowns to address excess spring seasonal merchandise in the second quarter, along with adjustments to the category composition and inventory levels in the back half of the year. It's not great.
Yeah, they took a meat cleaver to guidance. The high end of the prior range was 411. The low end of this range is 270. That's not a marginal cut at the edges. And they did say that the weakness really began in March across all kinds of nameplates.
Dollar General saw increase in transaction, but decrease in traffic. That was the offset. And again, it's a little category specific here because they cited that the growth in consumables was offset by declines in seasonal, home, and apparel categories. And that's consistent from what we've heard from the Targets, even the Walmarts, the Home Depots, the Kohl's.
Even as well, I believe.
Which is weird because Visa made payment volume still up 5 year on year. Non-present card spend up 7 year on year. And it was the best performing Dow name at the open this morning on a day where you do have all these individual retail blowups.
Travel is so strong.
Yeah.
It's remained strong. Although another thing on the credit card that I've been watching, I don't know if you guys saw from Torsten Slok this morning on Apollo.
Delinquencies.
Credit card delinquency rate now is at the highest level since 2008. So we've gone past the pre-pandemic level. There's this little spike up at the end.
Ooh, that's
and we
quite a chart
that.
you got there for us, Sarah.
Yeah, well, it's
Wow. Very pretty.
it's pretty, but the important part is that on the end, it's not looking pretty because
No, it
you don't
isn't.
want that rate to go up.
No, it isn't.
Right? It shows rising stress on the consumer, which makes sense. We've got high inflation. We've got an interest rate shock.
You got student loans coming around the bend.
Yeah, now that moratorium ends, so
All right,
that could
Sarah,
be a hit
so
to
where are
consumer
you on
spending.
rates now? I mean, you had, some conversation yesterday from Jefferson in particular that seemed to say, maybe pause is going to happen.
It totally changed the trajectory of the expectations and the odds. We have that soundbite because I think it was really important. He's being nominated for number 2, vice chair of the Fed, obviously a voter and an influential one. Here's what he said about the trajectory for rate hikes.
A decision to hold our policy rate constant at a coming meeting should not be interpreted to mean that we have reached the peak rate for this cycle. Indeed, skipping a rate hike at a coming meeting would allow the committee to see more data before making decisions about the extent of additional policy firming.
The only important word there is skip. Remember I told you a few weeks ago we're in the skip, not pause mode? Well, here is a very influential member of the Fed, and it was followed around the same time by Philadelphia Fed President Harker also talking about a pause potentially or a skip in interest rates. Both of them are voters. This idea that they can wait, they can see how the data shakes out. It feels like the core of the Fed wants to pause. They're worried about the regional bank stress. They see a lot of evidence that inflation is moderating, but
And the weakness in the consumer to a certain extent that we were just talking about.
But the jobs market is really strong. So for every data point, I can give you a counter data
I know.
point, as
And we got
talking about.
ADP this morning that was better than
It was a lot better,
anticipated.
although very poor correlation lately with the monthly jobs report. But you know what we also got is unit labor costs, which a lot of people look at as a wage proxy. It's kind of complicated to
It's also
calculate.
First quarter number.
But it was revised lower to 4.2% versus the 6.3% prior. So that was a big and notable drop, and we saw a little bit of a Treasury rally off that number. So that's potentially
Don't
good.
forget Eurozone inflation 6.1.
Better.
Prior 7, and Lagarde saying still got more work to do, but the policy is working. So unlike last time, you're not calling for another 25?
Look, I think it's hard to argue. When you get a Nick Timiraos article out of the Journal, he's considered the Fed whisperer, and they says they're leaning toward a skip and not a pause. I don't think it matters if they skip June and then go in July. I mean, the important point now is whether they're done, which nobody's indicating that they're willing to say that they're done raising rates, and whether the next move that gets priced into the markets is a cut or a hike. And I don't think we have a lot of clarity on that.
Larry Fink yesterday saying maybe 1 or 2 more. Right?
1 or 2 more
Yeah,
hikes. Because a lot of these CEOs, and we've heard it from bank CEOs as well, they look at the inflation numbers and they say sticky.
Well, and Jamie Dimon last week, I think it was, talking about 7% potential. At least he said it's a possibility. He didn't say it's going to happen. Terminal rate. So you may end up being right, Sarah. Don't worry. even if you're not in June.
Hawkish.
I think it depends. And by the way, it depends. We still have a really big important jobs number coming tomorrow.
Yep.
And then we've got an inflation number. And if we see outsized gains in both of those, you might start to see expectations move up for June again. But now it does feel like a lot of them are leaning to kind of wait and see. Other big story of the morning continues to be tech as Dow Component Salesforce falls after results there. Let's get to Frank Holland with fresh reaction from Wall Street. It was a better report, wasn't it, Frank?
I mean, Sarah, it was a report where it was hard to find anything wrong with it, and Wall Street seems to agree. The consensus is that Salesforce is a buy with tremendous upside and an attractive valuation with the focus on the potential of AI. I'm going to show you some of the reaction from Wall Street right here. Dan Ives from Wedbush calling the stock reaction that we're seeing even right now, down more than 5%, a head-scratcher in his note this morning. Goldman Sachs with the highest price target I've seen at $325, but despite a 55% run-up year-to-date, most analysts believe there's even more upside. Analysts also highlighting the mix of efficiency and profitability. Take a look at the numbers. Solid beats on margin and free cash flow. Evercore specifically looking at the beat on current remaining performance obligation. That's a metric that gives some insight into future business. On Mad Money last night, CEO Mark Benioff admitted there is a current downturn, but he pointed to Salesforce's AI offering Einstein as a catalyst for a turnaround.
Pay really close attention when we call for a turnaround in the tech buying environment and where it's really moving from a measured environment to an aggressive environment. And I already will tell you what the catalyst of that will be. I can see it with our customers. It's artificial intelligence.
12th in New York City, where you guys are, Benioff clearly making the case that Salesforce should be included in what we generally consider AI stocks.
That could be helpful for him, for sure, Frank. Overall, as you can see, the stock is off the lows of the session. Frank Holland, thank you.
Thank you.
The House passing that bipartisan bill to raise the debt ceiling last night, 314 to 117. Kayla Tausche joins us now to tell us what is next. Kayla.
Well, David, now all eyes are on the Senate, which is convening just at this moment for what could be a very long day of proceedings, even before we get to a potential vote on the Fiscal Responsibility Act. That is the debt ceiling deal that the House passed last night. Several different senators from different parties, I'm told by a GOP aide, a lot, dozens of senators have proposed some amendments to the bill, and that could hold up this process. Without a vote on those amendments, any one of those senators could say, hey, we're going to take this out a few days. I'm not going to allow a unanimous vote to proceed here. So look for potentially later today, maybe tomorrow, a deal that would have to be brokered between the top Republican, Mitch McConnell, and the top Democrat, Chuck Schumer, to allow the votes on some of these amendments, which will mostly fail, but at least it would allow them to get through that, get to the vote, and get out of town as the Senate is wont to do. Now, there is some urgency coming from the House and the fact that there was resounding bipartisan support last night for the bill when it passed 314 to 117, as you mentioned. And there were more Democrats than Republicans that supported it. That is leading Speaker McCarthy to call it a win. Some in his party are saying it should be a question of his leadership now after we get the debt ceiling behind us. But here's what McCarthy said for himself last night.
And we didn't do it by taking the easy way. We didn't do it by the ways that people did it in the past by just lifting it. We decided that you had to spend less, and we achieved that goal.
Says now Democrats are on the record supporting that they are willing to spend less. They are willing to vote for some of the things that Republicans added into this bill. He said in a tweet, you bet I'm going to be coming back for more. He said that the budget process that follows over the next few weeks is going to be a little bit uncomfortable. So stay tuned for the next chapter. But of course, first things first, we got to pass this debt ceiling bill, Sarah.
You know what I hate, Kayla, is when everyone says, oh, this was a made-for-media spectacle. The media made such a big deal out of this. There were 117 House lawmakers that voted to what? That would have been fine with our country defaulting. We saw a big move up in Treasury yields and CDSs. I mean, we got pretty close to the brink here.
We got pretty close to the brink, and we could still get close to the brink depending on how the procedural processes play out in the Senate. You know, the X date is on Monday, and if there is a delay by a number of days in the Senate, we could get pretty close to that. I'm told that if we do get close to that, there would need to be another communication from Secretary Yellen about what would constitute a default, whether it would happen first thing on June 5th. But, of course, everyone's hope here in Washington is that the Senate can just go ahead and pass this, can get whatever deal it needs to get to go ahead and get those votes and get that chapter closed. But certainly there were a lot of fits and starts here, Sarah. I mean, times when even negotiations were going on, it looked like they were falling apart legitimately when you talk to people behind closed doors. So, people can say what they want, but it was a close one.
It was. Thank you, Kayla. Kayla Tausche. As we had to break, here's our roadmap for the rest of the hour. Tech stocks have been on a tear, and the markets are up nicely so far this year. So why are wealthy investors putting record amounts of cash elsewhere?
Plus, Tesla is doubling down on discounts as the automakers overall report their latest sales numbers, how higher prices and higher interest rates are impacting sales.
And Meta with this big hardware announcement. Our Julia Borston is listening in. Hey, Julia.
Hey, Carl, that's right. Mark Zuckerberg making a big announcement, unveiling Meta's latest VR headset, and this all comes ahead of Apple's big VR announcement next week. I'll have all of the details coming up after the break.
My first options trade? Well, let's just say I did my homework. I loved the courses, enjoyed the videos, studied all the strategies, but I still wanted someone to walk me through it. So I called up TD Ameritrade.
Hi.
That's when I met Eva. She's an options specialist who talked me through the process and helped me learn all the tools as I made my very first options trade. Eva, thank you.
Feel confident making your first options trade with a passionate trader community, personalized education, and devoted trade desk support. TD Ameritrade, where smart investors get smarter.
Dad, we got this.
We got this.
Let me check out Dad.
We got this. We got this.
Life is for living.
We got this.
Let's partner for all of it. Edward Jones.
My dream is to talk to people, real people, about stocks.
BC Investing Club with Jim Cramer.
The return on investment for the investment club has been very positive for me. One is the education, but then it's also the ability to understand what's happening in the markets.
With the investing club, I've learned that the market will always come back.
It's helped me become a better investor, and then it's helped me become a better financial planner.
Join the CNBC
Ja,
Investing
tillbaka.
Club with Jim Cramer. Go to cnbc.com/investingclub now.
Burde kanskje ha muta mikrofonen. Så.
Jeg snakket med Lorentzen-familien, så jeg måtte bare gå.
There's money waiting for you. I did, which is why I have time to tend to my precious little trees. I'm such a good boy.
Justin Rose is a major champion. A man with the skills to win and the style to look great, whether he's on the course or off.
Wherever your tour takes you.
The windmill AC.
Jeg tok et lite tap her når volatiliteten traff på Dowen. Jeg hadde kommet og tjent noen tikk hvis jeg hadde holdt den, men jeg liker ikke å trade Dowen. Så jeg kjenner ikke markedet.
Faen, det var i pluss med 4 lapper her nå, jeg. Helvete, ass. For gevinst. For gevinst.
Navigate the world of earning, saving, and
For
investing
gevinst.
together. Invest in your best investment. Greenlight.
Meta out with an announcement today on the company's VR hardware. Our Julia Borston is listening in with some details. Hi again, Julia.
Hi, that's right. Mark Zuckerberg just unveiling this new headset, calling it the Quest 3. Seems like he's looking to get ahead of the big Apple announcement next week. The company is planning to unveil some new games for the headset, and they're having a big game announcement starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, this headset will start at $499. They're calling it the first mainstream headset with high-resolution color mixed reality, noting that it's 40% thinner, saying it's more comfortable, also saying it has better displays and resolution using the next-gen Qualcomm chipset with twice the graphics performance.
Det ligger på litt sånn historisk motstandsnivå nå på Nasdaq da.
Of titles for Quest 2, which was their previous headset, noting that there are over 500 titles that will be available for this, and saying it's going to be available in the fall, and they will be unveiling more details at their Connect conference, which is September 27th. Carl?
Julia, don't go anywhere. Stick around. It is no coincidence that Zuckerberg is unveiling this new product now because Apple is set to kick off its big hardware and software event next week, where it's also expected to unveil an AR headset. Let's bring in Steve Kovac into that conversation. Is this an attempt to scoop Apple, Steve?
Oh, it's definitely an attempt to scoop Apple. I mean, notice how Zuckerberg didn't do a big splashy event like we're almost certainly going to get from Apple on Monday. And Carl, look, comparing these devices is a little hard. We don't know
Köpa en Nasdaq här
Apple's
den.
going to announce, but we do have an inkling from analysts like Ming-Chi Kuo, who is just an axe on all
Köpte
things supply
Nasdaq.
chain, saying this thing is going to cost, the Apple one is going to cost up to $4,000. And we just, like Julia said, this new one from Meta, the Quest 3, is $499. So you can really see this kind of price war over a very niche market already starting to develop, and more interesting than what these devices can do.
Taget vinst på Nasdaq nå,
Because it is such
allerede.
a niche market. How does
Ut.
Apple do it? We already know what Meta's pitch is. What is
Vært veldig liten før jeg kom sent inn.
Kjøpte Wall Street på nytt nå etter jeg solgte der oppe. Skal vi se om det var dumt eller smart. Aner ikke.
Ja, jeg holder meg unna Wall Street. Fuck den der.
I mean, what is the market for something at this price point?
Interesting because along with this price announcement of $499 for this Quest 3, they're also announcing that they're lowering the price
se
of
på
the
Nasdaq,
Quest
da.
2
Det var
to
bra det salget der, da.
$299 for the 128 gig one, and then $350 for the slightly larger one. So they're saying we want you to buy our older headset ahead of this new one coming out, and they're really trying to reach that price point that could
Kjøpte
have
på nytt akkurat nå.
$250. We'll see how that compares to whatever Apple announces, and whether Apple rolls this out more as a super premium
Ser litt
high-end
negativt ut
device
nå.
or something that's more for the masses. But there was something about the language that Meta used here, calling it the first mainstream headset. Will we see Apple introduce a mainstream headset? And how much of this really, and I'm curious what Steve thinks about this, is about owning the ecosystem, right? When we've seen this battle between Apple and Meta over the years, Meta is at the whim of Apple for so many different reasons. You know, Apple controls the App Store. They've limited the ways and ability for Meta to target ads. Meta wants to control this ecosystem, and the question is, who's going to win this battle?
Fy faen, det ringer. Jeg kan ikke gjøre noen ting.
$4,000 is far from mainstream. That's what, 4 times the price of an iPhone, most iPhones, and 10 times the price of what Meta's introducing here. Any idea what in the world they're going to actually offer in terms of given that price point?
Yeah, there are loads of reports out there, David, so I can just break down what we've heard so far. One is displays. So if you've ever worn one of those Oculus headsets, you know, the resolution isn't super great. You can see some pixels. They have what's called a screen door effect, where it looks like you're almost peering through a screen door instead of a crystal clear image. So the idea out there is Apple's going to have a better screen technology, which is not cheap to make. On top of that, there's also reports that they're going to use their M chips. These are the same chips that power the Macs now, that after they moved away from Intel, and they're extremely powerful, extremely power efficient for something like a headset like this. And just to Julia's point on the ecosystem, I'd note that in some ways, Apple has a head start here because they've been working in this augmented reality on the iPhone and the iPad and other products for several years now. So they've already kind of built this foundation for developers in augmented reality that they can translate over to this new headset. That's what a lot of the discussion is likely going to be about at their event on Monday, David.
Julia, should investors care about this, and how much? Because for Meta, it's about selling ads. For Apple, it's about selling iPhones and services. How big of a market is there for these headsets, these mixed and augmented reality headsets? How big of a potential driver could it be for either company?
Well, I think it's not a near-term driver, but it could be a long-term driver. And certainly Meta would like you to think that it could be a long-term driver, because for Meta, it's not just about revenue they could generate from the headset, but all the revenue they could generate from really owning that ecosystem. And I think one key thing to watch here is this question of whether or not these two companies, Apple and Meta, are selling gaming devices. Is this just the next generation gaming device? Or is this something that could have an even broader appeal and broader use case beyond gaming? I mean, as we've seen with the video game giants, there is a massive opportunity there if they can really get everyone who owns a video game console to own one of these. But I think especially for a company like Meta or like Apple, which really is all about that mainstream use, think about the billions of people who are using Meta's apps daily. Is this something that they can make a mainstream thing that everyone would own alongside their smartphone. And I think once you get to that level, then yes, 10 years down the line, this could be a game changer for Meta, but a lot of things have to happen before then.
All right. Julia, Steve, thanks for a great conversation. Still ahead, despite a big run for technology stocks and a rally in the overall markets as a result, really, of the big cap tech names. Wealthy investors still putting a record amount of their money elsewhere. We're going to tell you where and why. Stay with us.
Start your day with all the support you need in Skechers Arch Fit sandals. Skechers teamed up with podiatrists using over 20 years of data to create a sandal that provides foot and arch support for all-day comfort. Podiatrist certified arch support for men and women.
The first time you made a sale online with GoDaddy was also the first time you heard of a town named Dinosaur, Colorado.
I just got an order from Dinosaur, Colorado.
Start an easy-to-build, powerful website for free with a partner that always puts you first. Start for free at GoDaddy.com.
If you have diabetes, getting on Dexcom is the single most important thing you can do. It eliminates painful finger sticks, helps lower A1C, and is covered by Medicare.
Before using the Dexcom G7, I was really frustrated. All of that finger pricking, my A1C was still stuck.
My diabetes was out of control.
Dexcom G7 sends your glucose numbers to your phone or Dexcom receiver without painful finger sticks. The arrow shows the direction your glucose is heading, up, down, or steady. And because Dexcom G7 is the most accurate CGM, you can make better decisions about food, medication, and activity in the moment.
After using the Dexcom G7, my A1C has never been lower. I lead line dancing 3 times a week, and I'm just living a great life now.
It's so easy to use. Dexcom G7 has given me confidence and control that everything I need is right there on my phone.
Dexcom is the #1 recommended CGM brand. Call now to get started on Dexcom G7.
AG1 by Athletic Greens gives you the daily nutrients that form the foundation for your health routine. It's made with the highest quality ingredients, put through the strictest quality testing standards, so everybody can own their health. Start your journey at athleticgreens.com.
I went to Angie and typed in pool,
Water heater,
cleaners, garage,
interior painting, exterior painting.
for whatever project you need, there's an option.
Ooh, I have another project. Let me try this.
Get started at Angie.com today.
When you're a small business owner, there's no such thing as 9 to 5. Days are longer, and business hours, well, they're anything but predictable, especially when you have clients like ours. When I considered payroll providers for my business, I looked for a solution that fit into my busy schedule. Sure Payroll makes running payroll easy, and its US-based customer service is there for me when I have questions, after hours, and even Saturdays.
Visit surepayroll.com/switch and get up to 6 months free and find out what makes us different. Because small business is our business.
Making of the Meme King, a CNBC documentary, premieres Tuesday, 10 Eastern.
Scan this code or become a member today at cnbc.com/pro.
Welcome back to Squawk on the Street. Cash is king right now, at least for some wealthy investors, that is. Robert Frank joins us here at Post 9, covering those family offices, which should become a more and more important part of the overall financial ecosystem.
Nå har jeg lastet opp long igjen.
If you look at wealthy investors right now, they are still very much in wealth preservation
Ja, ok.
mode.
Nå har jeg tatt meg hentet nesten helt tapet. Jeg hentet han 6.000 kroner. Jeg nå.
That's those with $1 million or more investable assets. They now have 34%
Se Dow Jones min går, da. Jeg har 4 kontrakter.
Han 4 kontrakter?
Jeg hentet han 6.000 nå.
Er du klar over hvor mye penger det er i Dow Jonesen?
Ja, men jeg hentet han 6 lapper nå. Jeg har gjort det jævlig bra nå. Jeg tappte jo når jeg satt med bankhora i sted, da, for å si det på godt norsk.
Men den longen der tok du jo før banken, da.
Jo, men jeg hadde jo solgt da, i stedet for å sitte på vei ned. Jeg er long Nasdaq nå, jeg er long Dow Jones, jeg er long alt.
Ja, så du er long 4 kontrakter totalt over alle?
Nei, jeg er long 4 kontrakter på Dow Jones, så er jeg long 4 kontrakter på Nasdaq. Så tar jeg gevinst på den. Så tar jeg gevinst på Nasdaq nå et øyeblikk. Jeg tror også skal vi bryte videre opp her. Nei, tok en nå. Sånn, jeg hentet en nesten 6.500. Jeg må ha 2.000 til.
Ja, men da går du tilbake på en kontrakt, for 4 kontrakter på den kapitalen du dreide med høl I høvet.
Ja, jeg hentet en 50 case nå.
Du har lagt inn 50 case?
Ja.
Ok.
Men jeg trenger jo ikke noe mer egentlig å handle for, jeg bare gjør det jeg gjør nå.
No matter what you compare it to, really attractive. And the amount of cash that they have right now in those cash equivalents is so high.
We were just talking about, we interviewed Greg Lemkow last week in Santa Barbara of Michael Dell's family office. They're merging with BDT. There was a purchase of $100 million worth of Under Armour shares from Kevin Plank. I don't know if you saw this by BDT. Just got
And they
some
did
attention.
Sherry Redstone last week from National.
Jeg poster I chatten nå.
Founders and or owners.
Kommer det tall nå?
Ja, Natural Gas Report. Actual 110, expect
Like, he's
130.
not liquidating, he's just selling, but it provides a nice boost of confidence.
Yeah, and there is so much cash sitting there that they're going to look for these little opportunities, whether it's a big office building in New York that's suddenly become attractive from a price point of view, or even some public equities, a lot of direct deals in the private equity space, and private credit where you're getting 12-15% returns for now on, top of the capital stack lending where the banks are not lending. So they are finding some opportunities, but not in public equity.
It's interesting, the conversation right now in public markets is obviously about structural growth and technology. And I wonder historically if these kinds of offices have been first to jump into those chapters or if they've waited to see how it panned out.
The tech family offices, those 40-year-old tech founders that now have a big Fortune family office, they're early into AI, really with sort of specific applications of AI, whether it's in financial services or security, as opposed to the big Googles and Amazons and Apples of the world, et cetera. So they are trying to find those, but there aren't that many at that level that you can really get a serious investment in. But the tech family offices are looking for that right now.
That's good stuff. Wow, that's a lot. Robert, thanks. Good to see you. Robert Frank this morning here at Post 9. Fresh hardware news out of Meta. As we mentioned a moment ago, the company...
Mer tar US Auto Sales kom inn, og det kan du flytte av den. Pluss 6,4% year over year. For meg.
Hold da, går greit, eller? Kom han og hente alle tingene utover? Ok, hva det som der nede nå? Hvilken kasser? Ok, men hva med de der Asko-greiene og sånn? Ja, men de der. Ja, det må vi ringe Asko på også, det kan jeg ringe. Kjøleskap og fryseren perma. Og den gasstanken så fortsatt. Ja, for den skal jeg få hente. Perfekt. Jævlig bra, Morten. Nå slipper han der kuken og klage. Mikael Long, Dow Jones igjen, skal du se.
You need to hire. I need Indeed. Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire. Sure.
Bare så du vet det, så ikke debt-sealingen ferdig. Jeg skrev det jeg skrev I chatten nå at Schumer sier at the US Senate will stay in session until we send a debt sealing bill to Biden's desk. Så det ikke sendt det ennå.
Trodde de gjorde det i sted,
Nope.
Yep. Dads want steak. Right now, Omaha Steaks is offering Dad's favorite gift package that includes 4 of our exquisite bacon-wrapped filet mignons, 4 air-chilled boneless chicken breasts, boneless pork chops, jumbo Frank's dessert, and more. All for just $99.99. Save 61%. Order today at omahasteaks.com/TV and you'll get 8 burgers free. Now that's what I'm talking about.
I had a client once who was a respiratory care nurse.
Fy faen, Nasdaqen går nå da. Oh yes.
Pandemic. BetterHelp quite literally provided her what she needed at the
Ja,
most.
den kan vi bare, det vår. Den kan vi ta med. Ja, vi kan gjøre det etterpå.
Welcome back. I'm Frank Holland with your CNBC News update at this hour. Attorneys for Donald Trump.
Spør han Morten om ikke skal hjelpe deg å plugge opp den der bærbar-PC-en, så du kan trade på den ene PC-en, stream på den andre.
Ja.
Accusing Judge Juan Merchan of having conflicts in the case.
Ja, for det I sted var jo helt katastrofe. Tappte 6.500 I sted. Jeg fikk ikke
Men jeg skjønner ikke hvorfor du trenger...
Jeg skjønte ikke hvorfor det skjedde engang, jeg.
Han Morten der, så han hører meg?
Ja, han helt rå på PC.
Morten, kunne du ha fikset sånn at han tar... det må jo bli en av to, altså utover hvordan PC er sterkest da, men enten at bærbar-PC-en hans tar streaminga, og så har han bare det på en skjerm, så han trenger bare se Twitch-chatten og seg selv på streaminga, og det kan han gjøre på bærbaren.
Det tar nesten ingenting. Den går på GPU-en, og den blir ikke brukt helt opp. Det fikes på at alle charts at man tar veldig mye av CPU-krafta.
CPU-en, ok, så han har ikke RAM-problemer av CPU-en, så er det problemet.
Man bruker bare halvparten av.
Ok.
Det er ikke brukt nesten ikke helt opp. Det er bare CPU-en som sliter med å være.
Det grafikkort?
Nei. GPU grafikkort.
Ok.
Så det beste er å bruke laptopen til selve tradinga.
Nå tar jeg gevinst snart på Dow Jones her.
So we have to solve those two things. And with the early announcement of what it looks like, haven't tried it on yet, certainly seems like
Så var det penger akkurat. Helvete.
that will solve that angle. The content piece is a bigger issue.
Ja, men hvordan CPU det på bærbaren da?
It's fun for about 10 minutes, then
Morten.
you feel like you're
Jeg tror ikke, hvis du har med laptopen bare kjøp og tag, så tror jeg det går fint.
bullish about this opportunity. I think
Ja, men NVS-laptopen, kan den håndtere bare streaminga da?
Ja, men streaminga tar ikke noe av kapasiteten.
Har ikke streaminga noe CPU-kraft?
Nei, den bruker ikke noe kapasitet, den bruker bare GPU. Han sliter med tradinga når han ikke streamer også, så det er ikke streaminga som problemer.
So is the story then about operating
Ja,
leverage?
nei, men ikke bare finne han en bedre CPU da.
Jeg har kjøpt en bedre til, men det ble en aksje det bedre, men det går ikke når han har absolutt skal ha 4 stykker av sjansen samtidig.
Tok gevinst på Dow Jones her.
So we've continued to hear from advertisers phenomenal feedback about Reels, about click-to-messaging, about their ad business, and they are gaining share.
Helvete.
And certainly have quieted some of the TikTok chatter.
Klart han må ha en Ryzen 9 eller noe sånt her, for at det skal gå.
Ja, litt usikker.
They're doing phenomenally well.
Jeg tenker, hvis han ikke, altså det er jo noe folk bruker for å få det til å gå, altså det må jo være en Ryzen 9 7950X eller noe sånt her, det må jo holde.
Jeg har ikke budsjettet til det.
Jo, det var det nå. Nå får det nå.
Ja, for den CPU-en alene kostet jo en del, men da er det i hvert fall ikke noe av det som er problemet.
Tok gevinst på hele Dow Jones nå, alt. Nå har jeg penger på, nå har jeg hentet en faen meg nesten 7000 nå. Hentet alt det taptes da.
Erik, du må jo lese chatten, jeg har jo skrevet det til deg. Altså, Dow Jones er Wall Street 30, og US Tech er Nasdaq. Og det er bare ta et kjapt Google-søk, Erik, så finner du det ut.
Og jeg er lang på den her.
Yeah, I mean, there's an opportunity
På to forskjellige år.
about ultimately if you're browsing a particular topic, can they on the fly generate content based on your wants and desires?
Ja, han ene her får du ta profit på snart og
Jeg har 3 kontrakter her, så bra profit. Men jeg skal sitte litt mer. Jeg tror jeg skal gå videre på det. Nå kjøper jeg tilbake Dow Jones. Nå kjøpte jeg den tilbake også.
Hvor mange kontrakter har du på den?
Den er nede?
Nei, på den øverste på
Bare én.
Nasdaq.
Bare én. Så nå tok jeg gevinst på den nede. Da tjente jeg $30 til. Og her kjøpte jeg 3 kontrakter nettopp på Dow Jones. Nå er jeg pluss for dagen når jeg hentet en alt tapet. Wall Street er jeg pluss på nå, den her. Kjøpte den akkurat på bruddene og der, dere ser den ikke.
The data and ultimately what's the right thing to put in AI and what's not. So We have huge confidence that the tidal wave is going to hit. It's just going to probably be more gradual on the enterprise. For the advertising side for Meta, I think there's incredible opportunity ahead.
It's such a weird environment, Brent, because there's so much excitement and hype and enthusiasm and spending toward AI, and at the same time, things are softening elsewhere. I'm looking at the reaction to Salesforce earnings today. Okta earnings, CrowdStrike. Is there a reason to be more pessimistic?
Oi, I helvete.
Even though we're in this great AI hype cycle?
I think there is. I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of, this was launched at the beginning of the year by Microsoft. Basically, it took a couple months on their turnaround from January to March to launch. And then everyone followed it.
Dow Jones tar jeg snart gevinst på.
Enterprise demand fade, and we're continuing to see that
AI
goes higher, and it's pushing all these stocks.
Jeg har dratt inn nesten 9000 nå, jeg. Det er faen meg ikke dårlig, ass, på under en time.
We do believe
Det er feil å si det, for jeg tappte jo faen meg 6,5 i sted.
Ja, det er jo nå 2,5 da. Bra dagslønn det.
Se på den Dow Jones min, der er pluss på nå med 500 kroner til. 600 kroner, 700 kroner, 800 kroner, 900 kroner.
They saw their weakest America's business ever.
Fy faen, den traff jeg bra på da.
Massively decelerated.
US Tekken skal teste AI nå.
Åh, så deilig! Åh!
Brøt rett gjennom det AI.
Ja, se på den trakten der da. Så jævlig motherfucker, ass. Ute. Woo! Bam! 10 lapper. Nei, 9460,58.
Brent, finally, I wonder if you think Salesforce is a model for how to respond to activist pressure, or are these initiatives that have been done regardless?
Faen.
They needed the activists.
Jones, du er meg fin en! Når du endelig fått liksom satt deg ned, Jones, så fokusert ikke være telefonen og PC funker. Da tjener penger som faen!
Fy faen for en push på Nasdaqen.
Ja, og du som lurte på hvorfor han skulle opp. Skjønner du det nå?
Nei, jeg skjønner ikke hvorfor det skal opp.
Bare aksepter det. Det er det jeg sier. Aksepter det bare. Det er ikke vits å bry seg.
Drit i å forstå det, bare aksepter det.
Ja, i faen, bare aksepter det. Aksepter det. Det er ikke vits å...
Bought into it, which is great, and he pivoted very quickly. So, kudos to them for making the change. And now
Tok en litt sånn risky potato i her nå.
We think the stock can trade 250. They just got to get the revenue back. They can only control what they can control right now.
Det på toppen her.
Det er noe som heter The Trend is your friend.
Sure, yeah, process versus outcome. Definitely gave him some cover to change the culture. Brent, thanks so much. Good to see you. Brent Thill.
Sånn.
Thank you.
Coming up in the next hour, we're going to continue this conversation about what enterprise spending looks like and, of course, how to use AI and how investors should be thinking about it. Nikesh Arora, the CEO of Palo Alto Networks, joins us. That stock coming back. It's actually positive now. It was weaker on the back of competitor CrowdStrike earnings, but that stock has come back too. It's down only 2%. We'll be right back.
What if we could connect people to new possibilities? Turn thinking into a way forward. Solve problems before they become a problem and share the future with everyone. We can. At WWT, we connect businesses to technology to make the impossible possible, to reach better decisions faster, to accelerate progress. Together, let's make a new world happen.
Riktig penger på den her.
Ja.
Helvete for en bønneren på nystekken her.
Mangler bare Wall Street, Dowen. Nå burde den komme også.
A bank that knows your business, grows your business. BMO.
A vacation starts with how you get there. A private jet experience from One Flight's budget. You've got to see this. Plug in your itinerary, search from over 5,000 planes, pay, and you're on your way. Nothing better than a personalized meal on...
Få en pop-up nå da. Der ja.
A great vacation always starts with your flight experience.
Herregud.
Susan, with Paycom, employees do their own payroll. What's Paycom? A magic payroll genie? It's a payroll app.
Payroll is way too complicated for the average person.
Bra.
Guides them through it. Missing or duplicate
Ute av litt av doen der. Nasta kommer til å gå mer.
Why would employees want to do all that? This could be a stretch, but I think it's because they want to get paid correctly.
Jeg tar det gevinsten, skal stikke og kjøpe noe mat. Nå men jeg spanderer. Nå har vi tjent 10 000. Nei, det har vi ikke gjort. Vi har tjent et par tusen. Jeg har hentet en 10 000 nå.
Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
Å, fy faen. Tjener 1000 spenn til her. Wow! Wow! Bang! Motherfucker! Ha! Satan, hvor god jeg er! Helvete! Faen, Sander! Skjønner du, eller?
Litt bra jobba.
Oi. 12 lapper in my ass.
Typically see companies rebranding with their rainbow logos, but this year there's already been a lot of pushback against companies looking to sell.
Nå må jeg gi meg mens leken er god. Takk for meg. Jeg har tjent 12 000. Det er ikke gjort. Jeg har først tatt 6,5, så jeg har dratt inn 12 eller hva faen det er for noe. Så da har jeg tjent det på... Hvor mange minutter er det?
Rett under 2 timer.
Gud, jeg er god, ass. Jeg er så jævla god. Nå må jeg gi meg mens leken er god.
Samme tid i morgen.
Ses vi i morgen. Ta det. Jeg kommer på litt for close, det.
Da er jeg sikkert først på jobb.
Halla.
Fy faen, i går. Vet du hva som skjedde i går på jobb?
Hva?
Det ble snøstorm, så det la seg, så fikk vi oppdrag, så vi måtte faen meg bytte dekk til piggdekk igjen på politibilene i hastefart. Skal ut på oppdrag, for det snødde så jævlig. Det var sjukt.
Og det er bare dritt. Tjen penger så du kan flytte til Karibien med meg. Ha det.